I would have never believed when we started the part of our program called the Kreskin Amazing Persons that one of them would be an individual right here in the television area of this industry in this city, and a person who's had some experiences regarding something that's really hot today, the Bermuda Triangle. But before we go into that, it's been a while since we've tried anything in the area of word projection, where we've tried, for the benefit of you at home, viewers, and all of you in the studio audience, is to participate in a simple experiment. So why don't you follow me over to an easel we have here. And on this easel, folks, are a number of words. As a matter of fact, they are words of, in this particular case, fairy tale characters. I had to add the word tale and characters, lest anyone misunderstand what I'm saying. Of course, in this envelope, I have one of these characters in mind. And I'm going to tell you how I picked the characters, by pure chance. I never see how they place them on the card until weeks later after I've called my names in. No one in the staff knows what the characters are. I'll place this envelope here in the chart. And what I want to do is to have all of you at home, and as well those of you here in the studio audience, to try this. In the studio audience, you might do this by closing your eyes in a moment. Those of you at home, you can do this. When we go to a commercial break, record the impression that impressed itself on your mind. Look at the names. We have Cinderella, Mad Hatter, we have Goldilocks, Snow White, and Humpty Dumpty. Now, those 5 names, I have one in mind. We're not trying to prove anything. We're not trying to prove psychic power, but let's see if you can pick up the image, which I'll tell you at the end of the program. All right, ready now? Begin. Concentrate. Bear in mind, it's only one name. Is a name which I can see emblazoned on a sheet of paper in that envelope. Those of you in the audience as well, with your eyes closed, should be feeling or sensing, with your eyes closed, of course, which one seems to impress itself on your mind. Incidentally, folks, if you notice as the audience is panned, some do not close their eyes. They may be curious, or they may be afraid of the unknown. They're giving themselves away, but it's interesting. All right, I think that's about it. A few more seconds. Record the thought. Keep it in mind. You better keep the sound tuned up while we go into a commercial, but also record the name that impressed itself on your mind. And we'll be back, folks, in a very few seconds. I gotta tell you, folks, remember the glasses I normally wear when I'm doing audience readings? Everyone used to say there were hidden microphones in them. I forgot them. So it really doesn't have too much to do, except that they kind of give me a balance when I'm wearing them. These I work with in everyday life. I gotta tell you something, everyone in the audience, it's good to be here. Really good to be here. Now, I'm gonna, thank you. I want you to concentrate. I want to tune in on your thoughts. And as soon as a thought rings a bell in your mind, folks, you stand up and acknowledge it immediately. I always jot down my impressions on this pad just to record what comes to me. I get the initials J, well, I get JB, but I got to tell you, that's not one name. First name is Jack, the other name I get is Barbara. Jack and Barbara, where are you here in the house? Would you stand, please? Stand up, sir, please, if you will. Gentlemen up in the back of the right side of this. Remain standing, sir, please, sir. Stand up, who are Jack and Barbara?
Relatives in London.
In London? London, England?
No.
London where?
Ontario.
In Canada. By the way, sir, talk about injuries. Did you have a back injury not too many years ago regarding something dealing with metal or hard metal?
Yeah, I had a back injury.
How did it happen, sir?
I don't really know how it happened.
You don't know how it happened? No. Thank you for standing. You look a lot better, and I'm glad of that. Thank you very, very much. I get an image of October. Yes, October 1-7. Would you stand? Who's thinking in terms of October 17th? Kindly stand quickly. Ma'am, we can see you there. Is that a birth date?
Yes, it is.
Whose birth date?
Mine.
Let me ask you this, ma'am. Did an accident happen with a relative of yours last Friday or Saturday? Something about walking an animal or something? Does that ring a bell to you?
No.
No, it does not. I got an impression of an accident. Nothing at all?
No.
Oh, thank goodness for that. That's one time I'm glad I'm wrong. Thank you for standing, ma'am. Who is concentrating They're wondering if, will we go to, they're thinking Spain. Would you quickly stand, please? Where are you? Please stand very, very quickly. The lady right, is it that you do not know whether you're going to go, or do you hope to go?
We haven't made up our mind yet.
You have not made up your mind. We have never met before, have we?
No.
Let me ask you this, ma'am. Just say yes or no. You are concerned as to whether, just say yes or no, someone is going to sell their home. Am I correct? Is one of you thinking?
Yes.
That person is not with you.
No.
How is the person related to you?
My daughter.
Is her name Beverly?
No.
What's her
mine.
name?
It's me,
It's her.
Well, what is her name?
Beverly.
Beverly. Oh, you're Beverly. Thank you very, very much
No,
for
I'm
standing. Really appreciate it. It's your daughter. Thank you very, very much.
It's my niece.
Your niece. Thank you, ma'am, very, very much. Appreciate it. Now that the applause has subsided, I receive the impression someone here, oh, forget it. No, folks. There's no way you can get on the good side of me after that. Who is thinking, seriously, and I have to interrupt what I was saying, because someone's thinking, first prize. Does that ring a bell in someone's mind? I don't know, dealing with what? Please stand. First prize? Anyone here in the audience? What kind of first prize, and what did, sir?
I'd like to win the Winterio.
What is that, sir? A win what?
Win the Winterio.
To win chair, is that a place you're thinking of?
No, it's a lottery.
A lottery?
Winterio
Oh,
lottery.
my God, for a mentalist, I'd have to ask you. You have some numbers in mind. What does 5... It's not all the digits, but I get 58. That's part of a series of numbers. Is it an address or a social security or what, sir?
No, it's funny. It's a friend of mine. His birthday. He was 58.
Oh, 58. He was 58 years old.
Yeah.
This year?
Yeah.
Month of...
This week.
Pardon me?
This week.
This week. Thank you very, very much for standing. I really appreciate it. There is someone here who's thinking about school. Calculus, would you stand, please, if that rings a bell? Anyone here? Gal, right there. Are you going to school, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Is it that you're studying calculus, or is that one of the many topics?
That's one of the topics I'm studying.
How many subjects are you studying in all?
7.
Oh, my gosh, I couldn't pretend to go over them. Are you studying photography?
No.
Are you interested in photography?
A friend of mine is studying photography.
Studying photography. Do you have some interest in, of all things, when I talked about a foreign country, you were thinking of Spain. Is it something you're studying about Spain, yes or no?
No.
Friend of yours is? Spanish Inquisition?
Yes.
Who is studying the Spanish Inquisition?
I was thinking that it's from a record I was listening to the other night.
A record
Yeah.
that dealt with the Spanish Inquisition?
It has a skit on the Spanish Inquisition.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. Who is concentrating on October the 16th, please? Would you kindly stand? Were you here in the audience? Is it a birth date, man?
Not of mine, no. My
Your son? I said it before you. I've never met you before, have I?
No.
Was he born in 1951?
Yes.
He was. Would his name be Chuck?
Right.
His name is Chuck, ma'am. Ma'am, when he talked about winning something, you were for a moment thinking of the lottery, weren't you?
Right.
Also as well. Incidentally, ma'am, you were really wondering if I could give you someone else's birth date. Who? Don't tell me the person's name. Is it you or someone else?
Myself.
Are you Muriel?
Right.
You are Muriel.
I am.
You're stunned, man. Would you mind if I try for... Would you mind if I try for the year?
No, I don't mind at all.
Well, if I can stand, because I'm interested in seeing how correct I am. I can tell by your expression. There is one digit to the day. Am I correct? One digit to the day?
Yes.
You were born in the month of July?
Right.
July the 6th?
Right.
1924? Thank you very much. We will be back. Thank you. We'll be back with the following message. I just happen to love my special guest. I've been a fan of hers for years because for me, she's been Miss Television. Would you all welcome with me, please, the vibrant Miss Virginia Graham. Please, come on. Oh, my God. I knew you were so... Oh, you are not
just said to him, if I had a son, I'd want him to be just like you. He could make all my bills disappear.
You are something. You are a very special person.
Listen, thank you, darling. I have to interrupt you, which is not new for me. But I read this in the newspaper, and I have to get your opinion on this. This is from one of our better papers in New York for training dogs.
Think about what she just said, folks.
Yes, you know, the dogs learn how to read from this. Let me teach you how to become a psychic. Complete course, $5. I only need glasses to see. Look at this.
Course,
$5.
You know what? Wait a minute. You know
Yes.
what? Look at.
And they give
Let
you
me
the
teach you
phone
to become
number.
a psychic. Complete course, $500.
Oh, is it 500? See, that's why I never know what
$500.
I'm spending. Now, this is simple, isn't it?
But you know, Virginia, what it's doing, there are people all over the place that are taking courses like this. You know, they're being given the impression, gee, I'm going to go out and be able to foretell the future and guide my life and get vibrations, and this is what I should do next. But what scares me, and I know if she had a discussion on her program on this, Virginia would be the first to come forcefully out against this. These people are leaving there thinking that they can advise people on their health problems.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, you've had enough discussions on
The
your shows.
untouchables. The untouchables are health. But you see, the thing that fascinates me about this, in the world of, we are living through a period of disillusionment.
Oh,
I think a lot of us.
It's not just politics. It's
No,
all
it's in everything.
It's all forms of show
There's
business.
no fantasy anymore. There are no dreams.
And and politics is not the only form of show business. Where
No,
the disillusionment
well,
is.
it's the only, you know, the only part that I wish the curtain fell on right now. But the thing is that illusion, now you do effects and illusion, that is a God-given talent. You've pulled things, not pulled them, created things that I cannot believe I was part of it. And you know the old joke, who are you going to believe, me or your eyes? Do you know that, folks? Lovely joke. Man comes home and sees his wife kissing his partner, and she looks up and says, who are you going to believe, me or your eyes? You know. We'll think about it later. But
You know what's going to happen? I'm going to wake up tonight laughing hysterically.
I can't believe that this is a God-given talent. Now, let us say I have my little grandson, Stephen, the Messiah. He's 10 years old. The Madonna's 13, but she's not interested in illusion. So now
She's interested in reality.
Yes, now the Messiah, I think, has a little talent.
Right.
He seems to have a sense about things. How do you recognize it? How did your mother recognize it? And what do you do? Because this is a talent.
I think it's something where we have to learn to not discourage a person who shows an ability in this area, but not to confuse them. You know, I think the most frightening things in show business are, will you agree with me, stage mothers?
Living through their children.
Living through
the
their children.
frustrations, yeah.
And you may manipulate the child who shows a gift. You may make them into a little kind of Napoleon. I think the important thing is to encourage them, realize that they're probably extraordinarily sensitive. The funny thing is, now I'm half Italian, I'm half Polish, so you can imagine the jokes I get. And on the Polish side of and I love both cultures, on the Polish side of my family, my father's side, my grandmother, who didn't understand English, she had been from Poland, was encouraging what I did.
Yeah, that's
She'd
a
bring
grandma.
her daughters in and try to get me to try to read their thoughts. But one day, one of her daughters came home angry, my Aunt Helen, whom I loved dearly. She was furious. I was only 12 years old, and I was doing maybe hour shows then. It turns out that she had gone into a store that they had visited for 30 years, a little fruit and food store, and the owner said, oh, my wife, I'm so worried about her. And my Aunt Helen said, what's the matter? He says, well, you should know. And my Aunt Helen said, what do you mean you should know? He said, well, your nephew was in here, and he overlooked her. She has a headache.
How old were you?
I was
How
only
old were you
12 years
then?
old. I got to ask you something, Virginia.
No,
We
but that
only-
is fascinating because you wonder to what point you want to develop the imagination and skill of a child. But this is not something that is a trick. And I beg people to read these things and train your dog on it.
That's the way. You know, the
Yeah.
saddest thing in life, we all need a little bit of charisma around us. I think Virginia is one of the exceptions, but I think she'll agree. So many sports figures and so many actors and actresses today, no longer knowing how to carry themselves and feel the responsibility to their public, think nothing of hanging their dirty wash on the front line when it was always meant to be hung in back of the house.
Somebody said to me, and it's so very true, we were talking about the sharing of the experience of love on television shows. First of all, if what they say is true, I've never done it, and I've missed a lot, and if it isn't true, who needs to hear it? It is so boring.
Yes.
But the beauty of love, like of any skill, is the sacred way in which it's handled.
Yes.
And to keep something private. I remember when I fell in love and my mother said, "Oh, you'll have a dozen." I said, "Mama, what do you know about love?" Everybody, I think, feels at a certain time in their life that something special is happening to them. And I think when you share it with the world, it becomes very soiled and very tawdry.
Yes, and the most priceless thing we have is our own private thoughts,
And
that we
dignity.
choose to share them, and dignity.
And a marriage license, girls. Don't be fooled.
We'll be back after the following
Don't be
commercial.
fooled. Don't
Thank you,
give away-
folks. I have to tell you, in Virginia, got some notes here. I rarely use notes, only because I remember I mentioned that at the top of the show that the guest, we have a segment called Kreskin's Amazing People. Not celebrities, but have done unique things. We had a tightrope walker, and that's scary. We have a man by the name of Vic Newman, and in 1968, he's a cameraman that built a boat and sailed, listen to this, to the Bermuda Triangle, and I don't know where he is. Where is Vic Newman? Would you show us? Is he in camera too? Yeah. Vic, would you come forward, please, and give him a hand? It's our cameraman here. Vic, I didn't even know you were there. Virginia?
Hi, Vic. How are you? Is that the boat?
Vic,
No,
I didn't
that's a
even...
model of a new one.
Oh, it's a model of a new... You were here... You know, I thought you could be in the audience and so forth, and here backstage, he's waving to me, and I said, I know that man from somewhere. Listen, we don't have the amount of time I'd like to have, but tell us about the boat and your experience with the Bermuda Triangle, because I was there a few weeks ago.
Were you?
On the Bermuda Triangle. Tried an
On
experiment.
purpose, you mean?
we tried a serious experiment in ESP, but I want to hear about what you did.
All right. Well, at that time,
Come on, the call.
I didn't really
You know,
think
there's
of
a camera there, Vic, that there's no one behind
he's
it
probably
now.
out of focus.
You're saying about it.
Okay. There were 4 of us going down in 2 boats to the Caribbean. We left here about October, end of September, I think. And that's a model of the new boat that I'm building now. That's a picture of the old one. I
To
don't
do
know
the
whether I
same
get
thing
that.
with the new one? You can do the same thing
No
with the new
way.
one?
No, I'll miss it next time.
You
if
said
I
no
possibly
way.
can.
Time going by. Why do
right.
you say no way?
Because at that time I hadn't heard of the Bermuda Triangle particularly, I don't think. It wasn't until on the way back to Canada in Nassau that a guy who works for Manson Valentine, who is the fellow that thinks he's found Atlantis, north of Bimini, asked me some questions.
No,
yeah. Well, that's what we found when they were. Anyhow, he asked questions, and at first you get asked a lot of questions about storms, and you can't describe them unless you've been there. He wanted to know where exactly the boat was.
Whose boat?
My boat. At the time of
Something
this
happened?
happening. Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
What happened? Nothing you can really put your finger on. You know when you're a kid and you walk into a graveyard or something as a deer and it's kind of weird, right?
A funny
right.
feeling.
Now, apart from that, you'd be scared anyhow in a storm because you figure you're going to get killed.
Yes.
Because logically a boat can't stand the sort of wave conditions and storm conditions.
So what happened to you people?
The storm that we were caught in south of Bermuda lasted 3 days and a lot of boats sank. We were okay. But in the lull in the middle of the storm, it wasn't classed a true hurricane, but it was that sort of thing where you hit the eye. There was very, very strange lightning that I have never seen before or since, and I don't particularly want to see again.
How strange, Vic.
You know, lightning will take the least path of resistance,
Yes.
so it'll jag normally. This was just like telegraph poles, and it was all around the boat. And that apparently is a feature of when these weird things happen and things disappear.
Planes and boats
Planes and
things
boats,
that have
yeah,
never been accounted
and
for.
one guy with a
How did
toe
you
lost
feel?
it. I didn't really know what. I figured it was only a matter of time until one of these boats hit the boat because they were as close as here to the audience, away from the boat, and it felt as though the water was being boiled by the lightning. Now, whether that was true or not, this chap asked me if there was this whiteout that they talk about, and I guess there was. I just thought it was spray at the time.
Vic, would you do it
But there
again?
wasn't. No.
Not do it again. Why?
No.
Too much unexplained?
I think if
uncertain?
you find it, I think I was dead lucky. If you find that, I think possibly there's a million explanations to it. And I think I know most of the theories. There's a couple I just.
Is it weather, is it meteorological, do you think, that this is an
I think
area
it's
that
tied
has?
in with. I can tell
Yeah.
you what Valentine thinks, if you
What
like.
does he think, very briefly? What did he say?
Well, I was into the Giza Pyramid stuff in the 50s and have since started looking into it again.
What's the Giza Pyramid?
the Pyramid of Giza, the Cheops Pyramid in
Right.
Egypt, with the strange qualities that I
Right.
think you probably know about.
Yes,
Right.
mystic qualities.
Now, if there was such a place as Atlantis, and they used that as a broadcast power source or something in that nature, and Atlantis sunk in that particular part of the ocean,
But is it
and
magnetic?
the pyramid was still
Magnetic?
there, then under certain planetary and weather conditions, maybe the thing still operates.
That's interesting. You know, I look on the whole thing with a very skeptical. I did an ESP experiment out there where members of Parliament stood on land, and I was out at sea and tried to read their thoughts, and I came back very sad because I had drawn a silly thing, a teepee with a tree, and I put a stick man next to it, and the member of Parliament on land opened the sheet of paper, and he drew a teepee with a tree, but the stick man wasn't there. He went to the press and said, you know, when I was drawing it, I stopped before I drew anything more. I was going to add a stick man.
Are you serious?
Listen, we did a test. Thank you, Vic. We have a very little amount of time. I did an experiment before in which we called out a number of fairy tale characters. All of you in the audience, you're going to close your eyes, so I don't want you to show each other what was strongest. We're going to find out, you in the audience, those of you here, what the strongest impact was. Would you all close your eyes? Stay here, Virginia and Vic, and thank you for joining me. The ideas we had, raise your hands. All of you close your eyes now. How many of you thought of Cinderella? Raise your hands. Raise your hands high, please. All right, how many of you thought of the Mad Hatter? That's much less. How many thought of Goldilocks? How many thought of Snow White? How many thought of Humpty Dumpty? Can I see Cinderella again? Would you people agree, all the people here, it was Cinderella by just about 6 more. I have a sheet of an envelope here, which I planned before. I'm going to open it for all of you to see. In fact, let me take it over to Virginia. It's been on front of the audience throughout the test. We're going off the air now. Virginia, would you open it? The prominent one was the first, Cinderella. And I had, if we can turn it around the other way, we got it.
Cinderella.
Cinderella it was. We got the majority of that. Virginia, thank you, Vic. We're going off the air. We'll see you next week. Be the good Lord willing. Goodbye, everybody.